Hey everybody, power on. We're here tonight with actor Tim Dunigan. What mostly relates to what we do here in the shop and what he is known for would be Captain Power. And he spent the day here in the store meeting customers and guests and telling stories and doing all kinds of stuff and being quite the host. And we were happy to have him. So now that we're done for the day, we thought we'd sit down and have a little conversation.
Thank you. I appreciate it, guys. I had a great day. You got an incredibly great shop here. I love it.
Thank you.
And I got to meet a lot of really nice people, fans. I even had two old friends show up I haven't seen in 40 or 50 years. So
that's excellent.
That was really cool. And again, I just love talking to these people who watched the show when they were kids and hearing their memories. And it's a great day for me. So I really thank you for having me. It was a pleasure. So,
I mean, obviously, hopefully you don't tire of telling some of these stories, but I do want to talk about Captain Power a bit. First, I mean, I think a big thing of why that built such a cult following was to the level that the show went to. It did something different that wasn't being done at the time.
That's right.
I would have to imagine at that time that was a monstrous budget to take on for that show.
Yeah. It was. I think it was about $1 million per.
Yeah, wow.
Now back that's 87 million. Back then
23 episodes, right? 22,
22 or 3.
Yeah.
Gosh, I don't know. Again, ask a fan. They don't know more. I found out they know way more than I do. But yeah, we knew we were doing something nobody had ever done before. And that was based on two big things. Number one was it was an interactive show.
Mm-hmm.
Mattel was looking for a vehicle for their toy that they had this interactive technology that had come out. So the show was written and before the toy. I mean, it was again. Most people say, well, it was a kid show. Yeah, but it really wasn't. I mean, It was Michael J. Straczynski, a great science fiction writer. Had written the show, and it was a good vehicle for that. Mattel thought it was a good vehicle, so we adapted. Number two was it was the first show that ever had a computer-generated character.
Right.
All of the CGI that you see today started there. Yep. So for sci-fi fans, I think that certainly helps the show stay alive. And my second and very close second would be the scripts. Michael J. Straczynski, Larry DiTillo, these guys, they were quality, great writers. And again, there weren't many kids shows that were writing like we were writing and we didn't write down to them, of course. And not many kids shows had a major character be killed off at the end of the first year. So yeah, I think that has a lot to do with the longevity of it and especially the resurgence of it in the last couple of years. For sure.
Well, and then even in the years that followed, there were projects like you. Am I not
correct? Babylon 5. That show Babylon 5 was in Captain Power.
No,
that was Michael just took that and then made the series from it. But again, we broke all that ground, and I can tell you that we had to stop sometimes and figure out, okay, what. How do we make this work with this animated character? And not only that, but right before we were about ready to premiere, they found out that the robot had these lights on their chest, and that's what the gun would shoot at. Well, it wasn't reading it. Oh. We had to go back and reshoot with bigger lights.
So that it would capture.
We were, I don't know how many, we were doing 80-hour weeks, man.
Oh, wow.
So to get that done. So we had to go back and get that all done because the technology wasn't quite working. And so those poor guys, whoever those guys were, I don't think they slept at all. So I know we didn't sleep much, but we had it a lot easier than the guys doing all the computer stuff.
So at that time, like when you walked on set for the first time, did it hit you then in 87 that we're really doing something that's not to be done yet? Has not been done yet.
Yeah. Not really at the first because I was so nervous. This was the first time in my career that I was the name.
Sure.
Captain Power and the
the face,
and you're
Yeah.
Captain Power,
Yeah.
and you learn a couple things right away when that happens. Number one is you're in every shot. There's no breaks.
You're working more than anybody.
Yeah, when I'm doing a guest shot on Cheers, Tim, go sit down. We'll talk to you in 4 hours, and you go back, you have a couple cups of coffee, you read the paper, whatever it was.
Sure.
When you're Captain Power, when you're Davey Crockett, you're on every shot every day, and then in between shots, your interview for Entertainment Tonight,
doing the press junket.
Correct.
Yep.
So I was so nervous that I was, I felt like you got to carry this show. Luckily, I was surrounded by incredibly great co-stars. Jessica Steen and Peter McNeil and Morris Dean Went and Sven Thorson, who was just in himself as just these are fine, great actors who took a lot of that pressure off of me. But as we started, the first thing we started to film were the tapes for the that would come with the gun, the training tapes.
Yes. Yeah.
So at first, I thought, well, what are we doing here? I didn't quite understand. Then they told us. And then I realized, when we started filming and they started explaining, okay, and then Sauron and then comes in and you're like, well, where is he? And, and then, well, hold it. How do we, wait a minute. And then we had to look, we can't do that. He's got to come in this way, and we'd stop and you'd have to figure that out with the technicians.
Really figuring it out in real life as it was going.
Because nobody had ever done it before.
Right.
So we had to do that. And the really cool thing was we filmed everything under one roof. There was this great, we filmed in Toronto, Ontario. And there was this huge, old, dirty, nasty bus parking garage thing. That's where we filmed. It was disgusting, and that was it. So they built the sets there. All of the cameras that would zoom through, that was all there. The offices were there. We ate lunch there. Everything was under one roof. Now that was cool because you got to see it. So while we might be filming right here, a scene right over here, they were doing the miniature work, so we could watch and see.
That's awesome.
So that was really exciting, and that's when it really hit me that wow, this is I've done a lot of stuff up to that point. Had a pretty good career, but I'd never seen anything like that.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's when it really hit me that we were doing something special. And then when I first saw the first kind of dailies, and then they showed, and even without the full computerized characters, you saw what was happening. I remember I could feel my heart, like wow, whoa, this is cool. This is really cool.
So you mentioned the full computerized characters, and that was going to be another question I had. Like, what? So everybody in today's generation with the superhero movies, we see all these behind the scenes things, and essentially there is an actor wearing a suit with sensors on it, acting side by side with the real person there, and then CGI is just kind of worked into it to go with those motions. What the heck were you guys looking at in 1987?
Mainly a kind of a thing like you got your light on here with a picture on top of it, and then some guy kind of running it across the room, or something. Poor guy.
Just to give you direction,
just
I guess.
like where, and then is he moving and when does he move?
Yeah.
And I remember, I know if you look at it now, you think, oh my God, this is nothing. It's kind of like when you watch Star Wars for the first time again. And I don't know about you, but I can remember going to the movie theater, and when that ship just came in over the top, I almost fell out of the seat. I'd never seen anything like that. Well, for us, remember, I remember seeing the mock-up, in other words, just the outlines we would see sometimes on a daily. I never saw the full thing until it came out. You
didn't see finished product till it hit the screen.
Absolutely not.
Okay, yeah.
But when you saw, for these guys, remember, Sauron was silver, so the reflection that would take them days. Just the reflection, and you look at it now, it's archaic.
Sure.
But to see it then, your eyes popped out of your head. And so when I saw the first episode, I kind of sat back in the chair and thought, holy cow, there's nothing else on the air like this. There's nothing close to this. And I thought, well, here it is, buddy. This is it. This is your long run. Well, little I know. shows you how smart I am, right?
To what could have been.
Yeah. Remember the second season was written. It was done. Scripts were done.
So I heard you mention that earlier today, but then Mattel did not want to fund it.
They decided that I think we sold $53 million worth of toys. But they didn't think that was because it didn't match He-Man.
Well, nothing matched He-Man at the time.
Exactly the point.
Well,
nothing matched it. But we sold. If you look back on it now, the toy actually sold very well.
Well, was the show created to sell toys, or were
the
toys?
The toys. It was two separate things that found each other.
Okay.
The show was written to be held, and if you notice, the toy. I mean, if you look at the jet, it's not in the series.
Right.
We had a jump ship, but it didn't look like that.
All of the toy brands at that time were notorious for that.
That's correct.
A side screen note,
that's
off
correct.
Screen
it didn't matter to them.
Yeah.
So we had nothing to do with the toys. I know most people think, well, at least you got the money off the toy. We didn't make a dime.
So that was going to be a question. You didn't get anything for your likeness or anything.
Dime. We got nothing.
That's crazy.
Mattel came to us, I guess it was Mattel, and said we'd like to, we're going to use your images on lunchboxes and sleeping bags, and and we said, great, sounds good to me,
Mm-hmm.
So I said, get us I'll have my agents look it over and all that kind of stuff. Well, they wanted to offer each of us, for unlimited use of our image, $2,500 Canadian. Which
Canadian,
at that time was 30% less than the US dollar.
Yeah.
For unlimited use. And we said, are you out of your minds? No, of course not. So we, as a group, we hired a lawyer, the cast, and we brought him in and we said, listen, we want the show to succeed. We're not trying to, we don't want to, break you here, but we think fair would be about 50,000 a piece, which is nothing.
Yeah. If you consider the units.
Absolutely not. So we said, well, okay, then you can't use my face. And they said, fine, we'll just make it whatever we want. We don't care.
So that's why everything we have has illustrated.
Yeah.
It's illustrated.
That is
and
correct.
No photo likeness.
That is correct, because they would not pay us.
Well, yeah, a question I had wanted to ask is, what's it like to have an action figure made of yourself? But apparently...
Well, it is still an action figure.
Right.
And again, the most use I got out of that, until recently, with realizing that people still remember and love the show, was when I had my mortgage business, and I kind of, my niche was kind of doing self-employed people in the business, actors, directors. I understood how they got paid. I kind of
so
knew
you
how
could
to
find the loan that fit. For
correct,
them
because if you're self-employed, it's very hard, much harder to get a loan if you're W-2. So that kind of became my niche. Well, there you go. You kind of became my niche. I understood how. So luckily, I had a couple CPAs, one in particular, who would send me their people and say, this is the guy who should do your loan. And the fun part was when it was somebody like a John Cryer, who I did, or William H. Macy, or Jerry Ryan, or whoever it was. If they started giving me any kind of trouble, I would just say to them, do you have an action figure? Because I do. And they'd say, and that felt so good. And of course, then I'd look at what they were making and think, I better shut up.
Yeah.
So, no. But, that was my best thing about having an action. But, yeah, I mean, it's cool to, even though I know it's not. But, again, the point is this. I play Davey Crockett, which is cool. But there's been, John Wayne, Fess Parker, God, the greatest of all, Billy Bob Thornton, and me. That's a good group. Captain Power. Captain Power. That's
just
it, brother.
You.
Just me, brother.
Just you.
That's all there is. So I there's a special place in my heart for both of those roles, but especially for John Power, because that was my thing. And another thing was, I want to make sure I point out, Michael J. Straczynski, who wrote that original, a lot of other writers, but he was the main guy. The coolest experience I ever had, I think, working, I can probably say that, is that he came to my dressing room and said, do you have about 30 minutes for me? And I said, sure. And he wanted to talk about the character and ask, not on just say, here's what but how do you see it? And I'll never forget that. I thought that was the coolest thing, and we collaborated on that. And then, so he wanted to understand how I saw it. He wanted me to understand how he saw it. And I'd never had that happen before. So that was, for me, that was one of the really big highlights.
That's a big deal. He created the character, or was amongst the group.
And, there's always a Bible, that you can read, but
sure.
It's different when the guy who, came out of his mind, when you sit and talk with him about it, and then and then I could tell after that, the episodes, they were a little bit, they started writing a little bit towards not just John Power, but Tim Dunigan as John Power. So, and that's a really cool feeling.
You helped him flesh out that.
I hope so. I don't think he needed my help.
Did you give that character a soul for him? Maybe,
maybe I think at least maybe I put put something to it that he could maybe flesh out.
Yeah.
But believe me, the talent, and again, I still think that sure the technology is why that show is still remembered for sure, but the writing, we had great writing, and if you look at it, it wasn't written for kids, and that's what. And now, as I'm doing all today with you guys, and then other shows that I've done, to hear the kids grown up talk to me, there's this reoccurring, and I like that they didn't talk down to us. I like that you guys didn't. You just let us see the good, the bad of the world, the good and bad of humans.
And the way I look at it, and kind of what we were dipping into earlier, was it was really a sci-fi show.
Oh yeah,
that Mattel leached onto to sell a product.
That's correct.
To children. That maybe the show wasn't necessarily, because you mentioned Babylon 5.
Right.
And then in my head, I start to think about Firefly and things like that came after that had that same feel. But it wasn't geared towards kids.
Well, look at the Borgs.
Yeah.
Now, you're telling me that they didn't steal from Dredd?
Sure.
Give me a break.
Right.
I mean, come on.
100%.
100%.
Yes. Yeah.
So, and again, as in comedy, the highest form of flattery is stealing it,
Sure.
And I felt that's exactly how I feel about that people took the best of Captain Power. That's why I feel like Captain Power kind of lived on, because people took the best of it and moved it into and
Sure.
I think that's exactly what would have happened if the toy was never involved. I think we would have run 5-6 years.
Easy. I believe it, because you also touched on the talking down point.
Yeah.
You had He-Man and G.I. Joe G.I. Joe was a little different, but these cartoons and things that these kids got sucked into, that we got sucked into and watched at that time, there was a lot of preachiness.
Yeah.
And then He-Man kind of really dumbed stuff down. And, I have the power. They talk about it in documentaries.
Right.
About how we're going to play to the weakness of young boys and get their money. And I don't feel, that's where I'm like, Captain Power is such a weird melting pot of, where you have this, like I said, just a sci-fi show.
It had, there's parts in Captain Power, and I'll be quite honest, after it ended, I didn't really watch it. I didn't watch it for years.
Sure.
And then just last year, when somebody asked me to come and do a convention, first time, I thought, well, I better watch these, because
I don't know what I did
and
back
let me
then.
tell you something. Thank God I did, because here's the number one thing. These fans, they know way more than I know.
Oh, yeah.
They'll come up and go, in Retribution, when you said, I'm like, I don't even know what that is. I'm sorry, But I started watching them again, and I really, just thought, wow, man, this is amazing stuff. The dialogue, and the best scene ever, I thought, in Captain Power was Morris Dean when he talked about the Christmas tree when he was a kid. It's a beautiful speech. Just incredibly great, and he just killed it.
And
there's
fits,
some beautiful acting there, man.
Well, in that dystopian life.
Yeah,
of
and
the
think
show.
about what we're living in, and again, over and over in that, about hope, how important it is to have hope, and that life is so precious. And then, of course, back in there, we come out with some lady comes out and tells, it comes in the paper and puts the show that we're teaching kids to kill and our guns and all this. And it's like, lady, did you watch the show? Because it's none of that.
Well, they were attacking everything.
It was a huge, it became the press clammed onto it. Mm-hmm. And do I think that's a big part of why, other than the other things we've talked about? You bet. You bet. That had a lot to do. I think Mattel said, "Screw it. We're not dealing.
We
with
don't
that
want
anymore.
the headaches.
We don't need that kind of press."
Was the show originally envisioned as a Saturday morning product?
I don't think so. I think it was envisioned as a 7:00 at night adult,
like Thursday evening type of show.
Sir.
Yeah,
absolutely, Eric. I agree with you.
Your He-Man or your G.I. Joe didn't run Saturday mornings. It ran daytime afternoons, so they had 5 spots a week,
right?
Not one.
Right.
And they had that chance to really.
And also, remember, we were syndicated.
Right.
Which means,
off
in L.A., we were on Sunday morning at 7.
Yeah.
In Omaha, we were on at 2 a.m.
Every market network had, they put you on when they put you on.
So how do you find it out? And yet, the ratings were good. The ratings were, again, if you go back and look, the ratings, even in bad time slots, were good. People liked the show. It's just that Mattel, they just had the criteria of what they wanted the show to be. They didn't care. They didn't really care if it was a good show or a bad show. Mm-hmm. They cared that it sold toys.
Right.
And I understand. And listen, that's their business.
It's all about
I get
the
it.
money.
Yeah.
That's their business. I understand. It's a cruel world sometimes, especially in the Hollywood area. That's just how it is, brother. So, but again, I just lament that we didn't get to do that second season.
Well, is Mattel even still around?
I don't know.
It's
you know
been
what?
bought out by.
Didn't they get bought out?
Hasbro owns them now. Somebody
and
owns
that's who
them.
also bought Kenner.
Kenner, yeah.
Kenner's gone. Yeah.
So maybe it didn't work out so well for Mattel.
Well,
in the long run either.
Hey, everything goes around, brother.
Yeah, for
everything
sure.
goes around.
So then after the show, sorry, I was way out there. After the show ended, there was a couple of spin-offs. Like the projects that you did,
You mean as far as a spinoff of Captain Power?
Yes.
Not that I was involved.
You didn't do any voiceover work or anything?
No.
All right, we're gonna cut that real quick because I'm just gonna inform you.
I think you got to leave that in. I think it's great.
Well, we can leave this in.
I'll tell you what happened after that.
Because IMDb has you listed
as voiceover.
Yeah, on some like animated stuff and a couple of things.
Well, you know what they might have done is they went and clipped it out. And reused it.
I would if bet. They did, somebody owes me some dough.
Yeah,
but no. After that ended, I went right into Davey Crockett.
Sure.
I went into the process of getting Davey Crockett, which was months.
So that was where I was going next. That's a huge transition, and then that was a big network project.
That was
correct.
Let me tell you, Captain Power was kind of this niche-y, little thing that no big names were going up for that.
It was a scrappy project.
That's correct. It was it was a roll of the dice.
Yeah.
Davey Crockett, everybody wanted because it was Davey Crockett.
Americana.
You were part of history.
Yep.
So when they called me and said, "Hey, they're redoing NBC wants to see you for Davey Crockett," I said, "Okay." I went in, I did my audition, and then you learn as an actor, or at least you try to learn. You go in, you do your best job, and then when you walk out the door, you throw it in the trash can and don't think about it again. Otherwise, you go. You go out of your mind. It'll eat you alive. So I did just that. Well, I didn't hear anything right away, and then all of a sudden they want you to come back. Well, I went back. I don't know how many times, and then I filmed a test. I had to do a test film. And then I had to go back another 20 times. And it took forever. Well, then the good part was the SAG went on strike. Well, then Disney, right beforehand, said they're going to pay you to not take any other work. They're going to put you on hold for Disney.
Put you on a retainer.
On a retainer.
Yep.
Which was, believe me or not, the second time in my life that had happened.
Well,
I know. Hey. Go figure. So anyway, right before SAG went on strike, they put me on a retainer where they were going to pay me every month. to not do anything else. Then SAG went on strike, so I couldn't do anything else. And so what I did was I got my handicap down to 8. I just went and played golf.
Lots of days on the greenway.
I just played every day.
Yeah.
I played golf every day. Well, it's amazing how much better you get if you play every day. I found that out, number one. And I also found out I was never going to be better than an 8 on my best day, but I enjoyed it. And I could pay my bills, And again, you have to, guys, my whole goal as an actor was one thing. I wanted to be able to make a living as an actor, period. That's all I want. I wasn't looking for stardom.
The lifestyles of the rich and famous,
God, no.
baby.
I just thought if I could pay my bills as an actor, I'm a success.
Just make a living at
That's it, because let me tell you, that's a very difficult thing to do.
That's exactly what we're doing here.
That's exactly. But again, I was doing what I loved. So was it hard? Hell yeah. It was really hard. Was it a horrible time? No. It was the best time of my life.
Could it be worse?
And I was surrounded by great people. I had great friends. And let me tell you, I'm going to get into that a little bit. I don't know who's listening to this, but, life gets, how you get through life? With help. And I'm not talking about, having a problem on this or drugs or out. I'm talking about just life. I'm talking about enjoying the present moment. Well, I was blessed to meet some people who were, the guys especially, who were my friends, who got me through the roughest times because they were there. Yeah. And remember, I'm away from my family. They live 2,000 miles away. I'm living in California. They're here in Missouri and Webster Groves and Fenton and all those areas. Well, those guys were my family out there, and my whole thing was, I loved acting and I loved the whole process. But I didn't like Hollywood. I wasn't big on, like, when I got Captain Power and I got Davey Crockett, and then you have to start doing the appearances and you should be seen
being the face.
I didn't want any part of that. No. I was playing softball. I was
wanted
playing
to work
3 nights a week. That's all I wanted to do, and then afterwards go out and have some beers and hang out with my boys. Yeah. That was it. That's all. That was, to me, that's a perfect life. So I'd have a lot of arguments about, you need to go to and I got a game, and they'd be like, Tim, this is very important that you're seen. And I'd go, I really don't care. So there was where my conflict was. Never in the work. I love the work. But I just didn't, I don't want, that's not what I wanted,
Sure. I get that.
And I think most people who've gotten that would agree with that.
Yeah.
I'll never forget. Do you know who David Leisure is?
The name is familiar.
Okay, well, he was on a show called Empty Nest.
Oh, yeah.
But he was also Joey Zuzu. I don't know if you remember those commercials. He's lying. Anyway, Dave made it really big by those commercials.
Okay.
And then getting this Empty Nest. Well, I got a guest spot on Empty Nest. And we got talking, and he's a nice guy. And we realized he lived up the street from me. So we started hanging out, and playing golf and just having dinner, watching Monday Night Football. He's just a great guy. And, he had great stories too. This guy was living in his van before he his first big job was airplane. He was one of the He was one of the Hare Krishnas on the airplane.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, he's a great guy,
Nice.
Really talented. Well, anyway, Dave, we started hanging. Well, he said one night, hey, you want to catch some dinner? The little restaurant that lived right down the street from us. I said, yeah. Well, I went to dinner with this guy, and, he was known. I'm not known, But every 2 minutes, somebody was, can I, excuse me? Like, he couldn't eat his dinner.
Couldn't have a moment.
And he couldn't have been nicer. And I'll never forget, most people were like, oh, okay. And he'd say, well, one lady came and said, I'm sorry to bother you, but I'm your huge fan, and I'm in from, wherever I'm in from, and it would mean the world. And he said, yes, ma'am, I'd be more than happy to, but I'm just got my dinner. If you want to just wait a minute, I'm having dinner with my friend, and when I'm done, I'll be And she got all pissed off at him. And he called him, who do you think you are? And I just sat there and I thought, oh my God, I never want to deal with that.
I don't want that.
And I believe me, I never had it. So that part of the acting, and I think that also has something to do with why in the 90s, after Crockett and after doing a million guest spots, I kind of sat back one night and started thinking, what do you want? Where's your life right now? And what's important to you? I mean, here you have this career. You've worked since you were 16 years old, you've worked at acting. And now you're in your 40s. Is this it? Is this it? And I thought, no, I don't want that to be it. I need a new challenge. So I called my agents and I said, listen, I'm stepping back for a while. I don't want to go on auditions. I think I'm going to try to pursue another type of career. And they said, what is wrong with you? And I said, nothing. I said, I still, if something great comes up, let me know. But I want to try something different before I'm too old to try.
Sure. Yeah.
I don't,
Get out
because,
there.
I mean, being an actor and on TV, it was great. Don't get me wrong. I loved it. It was nice when somebody came up and said, hey, you were great on that.
This might ruin the rest of my questions.
Uh-oh. I'm sorry.
Just kidding. I'm kidding.
Am I screwing you up here?
No, you're fine.
But anyway, I just said I wanted, so I had a buddy who owned a gourmet food business, and he said, well, why don't you come work with me? So I went, and I didn't know what I was, and he taught me, and he ran a business with Costco. And he would import chocolates, like gourmet chocolates, and put them into these Costco's on the West Coast. And he said, I want you to kind of run this program for me. And I said, right. And he said, no, you'll be good. You're fine. You know more than you know. Well, I learned, and I really got into it, and I really studied about importing and exporting and pallet configurations. And, excuse me. Well, we took the business, and it improved.
Nice.
And I found I enjoyed doing business. Then I had a buddy. At that time, I was dating a real estate agent there, and she was working with this guy who was a mortgage broker, and he was one of the top 50 mortgage brokers in America. He was his name's Tim Dunigan. Let me give him credit. Guy's an amazingly smart guy, and we were friends. We'd hang out, play golf. And he said, "You ought to be a mortgage broker." I said, "I don't know anything about finance." He said, "I'll teach you." So I'd go into his office every day, and he taught me, and I'd ask questions. I took the test, I got my license, and then that's what I did the last 4 years of my life after acting. I went and I helped people to buy houses and do things, and of course my niche was actors and all that. So I kind of had my hand in it a little bit, but I liked that I was capable of doing something else well. I didn't want to just be, well, he was just a good actor. That's fine. I'm proud of that. But I just wanted, you only get one life, guys, and I wanted to see what else I could do.
Could accomplish.
I wanted to see if I could well, at first I thought, well, this is great because then I can go on auditions and I'll have a business. Well, that doesn't ever work out. Trust me, it's never gonna work out.
Can't do both.
But I didn't know, and I didn't, and that was fine. And then I stepped away from all that and realized I don't miss that. I miss the work. I miss the people, but I didn't miss the Hollywood. Excuse me. I don't know if I said
No.
But I just didn't
bonk
miss
it.
I just thank you. I'm sorry that just beat me. I'm a no good.
No, you're fine.
And that was fine with me, and I liked that, and I was doing something to help people, and I was doing things that I never thought I was capable of doing. I pushed myself, pushed the envelope.
Sure.
And I pushed the envelope with acting. I pushed the envelope in business.
And 25 years later,
and here I am.
You're Captain Power.
I'm going back because people say I loved you as a kid. So yeah. But again, the fun part for me is I get to talk to those people. Sure. I really do. I mean, guys, I don't know if you heard today. I was telling some of those stories where somebody came up to me and said, "I've been waiting 30 years to shake your hand." And I said, "Why?" And he said, because it's because of you that I'm an engineer at Lockheed.
Holy
wow. And I said, "Buddy, I think you got the wrong man." He said, "No, man." He said, "Captain Power." Then another guy, I'm a colonel. I'm a colonel in the Space Force, and you're the reason I'm in it. Wow. Or the real one, a guy. I was in. I'll tell you that I was in Augusta, Georgia, doing a Joe Fest, GI Joe Fest. Mm-hmm. And a guy came up and said, "I drove from West Virginia when I heard you were going to be here." He said, "I've been waiting." Again, he said, "You were my hero, and I want to tell you why." He said, "My father was an abusive, horrible drunk." And he said, he said, "My life was hell. And I saw your show, and your 30 minutes a week watching you got me through that period." Now, let me tell you something. When somebody tells you that,
yeah,
that's a bold statement, my friend.
That hits hard.
Yeah.
It hits you hard.
Yeah,
because you know what I think back on? I think back on me going, I'm hot. When are we going to have lunch? You know, and I'm thinking,
where's the craft services?
Exactly. Are there no blue M&Ms? You know, yeah, that's what you think of. And you realize, my God,
how
you
might have
touch
touched
people and you don't even know it. So that just lit something in me. And now when, you know, I can come in out and I can talk to people and I can hear their stories of what it meant to them and that my work actually means something in 2025 and I'm 70 years old.
Yeah.
Let me tell you, it doesn't get any better than that.
Sure.
That's really cool.
Sure. All right.
Good night, everybody. Thanks very much.
So
Drop the mic.
I do want to circle back to a couple of things. So one would be, you know, you talked about, and my interest in this is, like, I took my previous business life, wasn't as glamorous as acting or anything like that, but I was in corporate business. I was in remodeling, construction, and everything I learned there, I applied to here.
Right.
So you talked about getting into the export business and then the mortgage business, and, you know, you found your niche with actors. But I want to know, was there something you learned from the trade of acting that made you more comfortable possibly in, say, that sales position, that open conversations that, you know, warmed people up and just kind of,
absolutely,
you know, made it easier for you to just work right in there?
I can tell you without a doubt. My acting training at Webster College, now Webster University, my training at Merrimack Community College, my training at Six Flags over Mid-America, doing 6 shows a day, 7 shows a day, 6 days a week. That, what it teaches you is communication.
Yeah.
And let me tell you something, that's the key. Communicating is the key. And also, I think people, I'll tell you something, I think it was Charles Durning told me. By the way, let me circle back to that. The reason why, how does this idiot know Charles Durning? Well, I was with a great agent when I was in Hollywood, and the first year I went out to L.A. and I decided to stay, and I was with Jack Fields and Associates. Well, nobody knows who that is. Well, Jack Fields he was a big agent back in the day, an old guy, you know, old school.
Old money,
anyway, they said, hey, well, you know, we're having the Christmas party. You want to come to the Christmas party? I was like, yeah, okay, you know. I'm going home. I was coming home to St. Louis anyway, but I thought, it's before that, I'll go. Well, I walk in this room, guys, and it's, you know, Hollywood elite, you know, Charles Durning, Ned Beatty, Burgess Meredith, Lana Turner. You know, I'm standing there like, you know, that old George Gobel line, did you ever feel the world is a formal event and you're a pair of brown shoes? That was me. That was me. But all of a sudden I'm surrounded by these people, and you learn. And Charles Durning, I got to talk, you know, Charles Durning was, people, I don't even know if they know, you know, he stormed the beaches on Normandy, man. Sure. I mean, this guy was unbelievable. And all of them, and they talked about, and he told me one time, you know, a great lesson, which is the key to acting. You know, he said, let me tell you something, Tim. He said, you earn your money, when you're acting, you earn your money when you're not talking, when you're listening. Listening, he said, is more important than anything in the world. And at the time, I thought, what the hell are you talking about?
Sure.
Well, I got it. Let me tell you. And listening is the key to business, my friends. Because, and especially in the mortgage business, because I'll give you an example. Everybody's different. To one person, what's the most important thing to them? The rate. I don't care. What's the rate? What's the rate? Another person, they don't care about the rate. They care about how long is it going to take. Yeah. Third person is how stressful is this going to be on me? You know, I got a wife, she's pregnant, so you got to. I learned from acting, and again from listening Because and again, let me just kind of say, why is listening so important in acting? Well, if you're doing, you get your lines right for the next day for the shoot, and you go through them and you learn them. Well, in your head, you go through you don't just learn your lines. You learn the line. You learn everybody's lines. Even if you don't mean to, you got to, so you know when to come in, right? Well, in your head, somebody, they address the line. In your head, they address the line like this. Well, maybe when you get on set, they don't address the line like that. Yeah. So if you answer, it doesn't make sense. It doesn't work. So you've got to completely throw that out the window and listen. What did they say? How did they say it? And then you got to just hang out, take a chance, and try something. And again, if you're not failing, if you're not doing your job. So again, listening became so important. Well, in mortgage, so come back to your question. What did I learn? Acting, listening, and telling people what they needed to hear to give them confidence in you. Because, listen. Being on stage, if I screw up on the A-Team or I screw up on the Cheers, I just screw myself up. It's cut. We'll do it again. If I screw up on a mortgage, they don't have a place to live.
Somebody's finances.
So you want to talk about people say, well, gosh, what's a lot of pressure being on TV? Not like doing a mortgage. I mean, if I screwed up, I got to do it again. On a mortgage, I got a moving van ready to go, and you tell me it's not ready. Right. That's pressure, my friend.
Yep.
It's like Lee Trevino always said. They said, you're over a putt for $100,000. He said, no, that's not pressure. Pressure is you're over a $10 putt, and you got $5 in your pocket. That's pressure.
All right. So I'm going to move on to a couple of one should be pretty simple, maybe fun, and then one might be our last deep question, and then we'll let you go. And thank you for all your time today.
You guys, it's been a pleasure.
Likewise.
Honestly. Thank you for having me.
So, how did the Macy's Day Parade come about for you?
That's a great story. So, we're filming Davey Crockett up, and we filmed that about 2 hours outside of Vancouver in a place called, what was that place called? Golden Ears Provincial Park.
Okay.
And you think to yourself, oh, it's like Forest Park. No, it's the middle of nothing. And we would literally get in helicopters and fly up to locate, because there's no roads.
Wow.
Okay. So this is, you're out there.
This is real. Yeah.
And they come to me one day at lunch or something and said, hey, NBC wants you to do the Macy's Day Parade. And I said, in New York? And they said, yeah, because it's on Thanksgiving Day.
Right.
This is Tuesday.
2 days before they're coming to you.
Well, yeah. And I'm like, okay. And they want you to sing a song. Because I had a musical background. I did a lot of musicals. I said, well, I don't mind. Well, okay. But I said, well, okay. Well, you can record it here, and they'll send it, because then you just lip sync it.
Right. Yeah.
I said, what's the song? They said, This Is My Country. This is my country. And I thought, well, I got a day off. Again, going back to Davey. Hi, I'm Davey Crockett. Hi, I'm in every shot. Hi, I don't ever get a break.
Right.
Hi, I haven't seen daylight where I live in 2 weeks. I only see nighttime. So I didn't want to do it. Well, I made the huge mistake of calling my dad. My father loved the Macy's Day Parade.
I feel guilt coming on thick.
He said, "You were offered?" I said, "Yeah, they want me to be in the lead float." He said, and I said, "But I get." Well, I guess. Geez, Tim. Boy, that's such an opportunity. And I thought, oh no. You know what, Pop? Yeah, I'm going to do it. Yeah, I'll do. Oh, that's great. Oh, great. So I thought, oh, what the hell? So I say, okay, I'll do it. So I don't know. I record the thing. It's no big deal. And then, so I have to film on Wednesday. I'm filming in the middle of nowhere in Canada. Okay, Tim's last shot. I get in a van. They drive me down to we're near a lake. We drive down to this lake on the shore. They hold up blankets I take off my Davey Crockett outfit. I put on my clothes. They got my bags. A helicopter comes in. I get in the helicopter. It takes me to a little bitty airport there outside of Vancouver. Jeez. I get in a 6-seater. I fly to Seattle. I get off the plane in Seattle. On the tarmac, as I'm walking, I sign the immigration, coming back in the country.
Sure, right.
I walk up the steps into the plane that flies me to Denver. I wait in Denver for an hour. I catch another plane to Newark. By the time I get to Newark, it's 6 a.m. Sun's coming up. I get out. I come out. There's a sign, Tim Dunigan. I go, okay, here you go. I get in the limo. The Davey Crockett outfit's there. I put on the Davey Crockett outfit. We drive to the Upper West Side. I get out of the car. Tim Dunigan, come over here. I go up some steps. I'm standing on some big Indian headdress, a Native American headdress, and go. And we're heading down Central Park West. Now, less than 20 hours ago, I'm in the middle of nothing, and now I'm coming. There's thousands of people as I'm coming down Central Park West with the big balloons, and I'm thinking, what the hell just happened? You know? Well,
where am I?
All of a sudden, and it's like 20-something degrees. It's freezing, and I don't have any gloves.
Oh.
One of the nice guys who was dressed like a Native American hands me these white gardener gloves. So if you ever see a picture, I look like Mickey Mouse. Hi, everybody. I'm up there with a coonskin cap and these white gloves, and I'm going down the street, and it kind of hits me. Oh my God! You know, I'm on the lead float in the Macy's Thanksgiving Day Parade, and I'm thinking my entire life is going to change. I'm like, will I be able to play softball? I mean, can I go to a movie anymore? What about the grocery store? Will people be bothering? Oh, I start panicking. And I'm waving, hey. Well, luckily, we get to Columbus Circle. I'll never forget it. And I hear a guy yelling, hey, Tim. And I'm looking, and I look up. There's a big, grandstand there. And there's a guy in a down vest and a Mets cap. And I look at him, and he says, who the blank are you? And I thought, I'm okay. I'm good.
Little smack back to reality real quick.
Boom, man. I came flying back down. I thought, I'm fine. Yeah. I'm okay. Then I finished. I went down. You get in front of the thing there, and they announce, and they played the tape, and there were 2 verses. Nobody told me they had cut the first verse, and we were going directly to the second. So at the beginning, I think I looked like a Godzilla movie. I'm like, hello, everybody. My mouth wasn't mad, but I caught on. I did that, and I got off the float, and I went up to the Macy's ballroom up there. They had a bunch of food, and I just started drinking.
Washed it away.
Because then I got to stay overnight, and then they flew back out the next day. Jeez. And got there and went to work. Went back to work. Yeah. But it made my dad really happy. Of course, the number one thing I'll tell you, and I know we don't have much time, but there's 2 things I'd like to say. Number one was my parents, were really supportive to me about my career. And they, nobody in my family is in showbiz. But I had a lot of friends, and I still do, who are in business and are very talented people. But they had, their parents weren't very supportive. My parents were always supportive, number one. That had made a huge difference, number one. Number 2 was, I forgot what it was. You guys, you got to quit doing this. It was, but again, I just want to say that they were really, that's a huge part of it is, there was a time, I could tell you in New York City, I was living on the Lower East Side in a place where they wouldn't turn the heat on during the winter, only an hour a day. I was sitting in front of a stove with the oven on a blanket, and I was tears in my eyes, and I said, I can't take it anymore. I couldn't do it. And my dad got on the phone and said, you can do it. He said, listen, everything's going to be all right. You're going to do this. And if you don't want to, you don't have to. He said, I'll send you a ticket right now. But he says, Tim, I think you're going to do this. And I said, okay, Pop, I'll hang. And a week later, I got the job. Nice. I got a job. Nice. So that kind of support, I don't care if somebody's trying to be an actor or a plumber or or I don't care what. Just so out there, that's so important. To get that support. I don't think they agreed with me.
Sure.
They wanted
but
me.
They supported their son.
But they said, if that's what you want to do, then make sure you give it your best. Don't quit. And I didn't. And that was great. And that was a huge thing for some people. Like I said, they had no connection to this kind of business. So it was a really big thing, and it meant. It still means a lot to me to this day.
That's fantastic.
Yeah.
So I got two last quick ones.
Okay.
So was there, taking Captain Power and Davey Crockett out of the equation, was there one character bit that you might have had that you hoped to have done more with?
Well, that's a great question. Taking those two out.
Mm-hmm.
What character? I would say it was probably be more on stage than
okay.
All right. Because TV, you're trying to stay alive. You're trying to make a living. So I think I would say that I did a character on Murder, She Wrote I could have done better at, but I was excited because I got to play baseball. I played. It was cool because I was the guy who was accused of murder who was innocent. So she got Angela Lansbury got me off of the.
Gotcha.
So the highlight for me was I got to a scene with her where I'm in jail, and of course the best part about it is takes time for lighting, and so I got to sit and talk with her.
Nice.
About Gaslight and Harvey Girls, and these are classic. You don't get to do that very often.
Older projects.
Right. I also, for years, I did a series for NBC that you don't remember and no one else does called Mr. Smith. It was on 1983, 4? I don't know. 13 episodes on NBC. I don't know what night it was on. But that was done by Ed Weinberger and Stan Daniels, the guys who created Taxi. Mary Tyler Moore. So our head writer was David Lloyd, who was the guy who wrote the Chuckles the Clown Mary Tyler Moore episode, the classic, wrote the greatest episode. Anyway, great show. It was about a talking orangutan.
Yeah, my dad definitely watched this show. I guarantee it.
A talking orangutan. So I had to go in and I had to train with real orangutans, which is another. I've worked with every animal.
I do remember this.
Every animal in Hollywood I've worked with. I've wrestled an alligator. I've worked with the biggest Kodiak grizzly bear in the world. I've done it all. So these orangutans, I had to come in and work with them because they're, if they don't like you, they'll kill you. So that was a series that I did. I always thought I was horrible in that series, and I never watched it. And just about a month ago, I found it on, I don't know, YouTube or something. And you know what? I was pretty good on that.
Hell yeah, good deal.
I wasn't bad.
Yeah.
I don't know why I thought I was so terrible. I really wasn't.
Yeah.
I was kind of funny, and the writing was good, and it's been kind of like, I thought I was terrible on that.
Yeah.
I did a pilot where I wasn't very good. I don't remember what it was, but I didn't care about it, I think. But no, I was. I think my training. Once they're paying you, you got to give it your all. You got to give it everything you got. And hey, listen, sometimes the writing is crap. It's just terrible writing. You make the best. You do the best you can.
But was there one that you had hoped became recurring?
Reoccurring role,
or that you got to flesh that character out more?
I got a call to do Cheers, and at that time, Cheers was like the show.
Yeah, right.
And the cool part was I didn't have to audition.
Oh,
and they just asked me if I wanted to do it. And the casting director knew me, and he said, "Listen," he said, he says, "I'm embarrassed to call you." He said, "But it's like 4 lines, but the guy's it's not making it, and it sets up a big joke for Shelley Long." And I said, "Yeah, I'll come in." And I went down and I read, and he said, "Perfect." So I would, of course, I thought, well, maybe I'll be so good they'll
bring me back. I'll be the next Woody.
I'll be the next Woody. And by the way, why didn't I go in for Woody?
Right? Why didn't you call me for that?
How come nobody called me for that? But that I would have hoped to have been a bigger role. But no. Well, I mean, I played a judge on Jag. Maybe I thought that could be a reoccurring, but how much do you do with Sustained? it's
Well, I mean, it happens on all of the, SVU, all the Law and Order shows. The same judges keep repeating.
Well, that's what I thought. Why can't I come back? Yeah. They probably just said, "Thanks a lot, pal. Yeah. Thanks a lot. Take a hike."
Next guy on the call sheet.
No, I was lucky. I got, my first job was a reoccurring role. So I always worked, and again, what I'm most proud of in my career is that I was a working actor.
Yeah,
not that I starred in this show or stuff. That I paid my bills by acting.
Yeah,
and for a couple of years, I was probably in the top 2% of earners, which shows you how crappy we get paid. Because believe me, I mean, I made money where I could enjoy my life, but it wasn't Tom Cruise money or anything.
Sure.
But again, my whole goal was always, I just thought if I ever could just pay my bills by acting, I felt I was a success. So I feel pretty good about it.
Yeah.
And again, I some days I regret that I left a little early, but again, you have to go with what you think is right.
Sure.
In life, you look back.
It fit you at that time.
It did. Yeah. It was just and I was I had a relationship that wasn't right. I think that had something to do with it, and a lot of things influence your life. But here's the other thing: don't beat yourself up over it. We all make mistakes.
Move on.
Sure, we'd all go back and change things if we could. But again, if I didn't get fired off the A team, I never probably would have got Captain Power. So you never know.
Yeah, well, that was I don't know if we have time for that. Jeez, that's a bad one.
Getting fired off the A team?
That was one. I wasn't sure if I should ask. Like, how did that?
Oh, I'm cool with it.
I mean,
listen,
so you got the pilot, and how'd that happen? Like,
well, I got the pilot, and I was just ecstatic. I couldn't be more excited. And I did it, and when I got back, my agent said, "You need to come in the office." And I said, "Okay." We were down filming in Acapulco.
Okay.
And so I got back, and they said they're replacing my agent, Mike Marshall. God rest his soul. He said, "Tim, I just want to tell you this. I'm just going to tell you, they're replacing you on the series." Well, I was devastated. I was absolutely devastated. I said, "What did I do wrong?" He said, "You didn't do anything wrong. Yeah, they feel like you're just not right for the role." I said, "Well, obviously then that I didn't do a good job." He said, "No." He said, "Listen, Stephen Cannell, the creator, he wants to see you down in his office." So he was in Paramount at that time. He had built his own building now, but at that time his offices were at Paramount. And there was a place across the street called Lucy's, and I went in there and drank about 10 margaritas. I'm not lying. I was half snockered because I was a nervous wreck.
Sure.
And so I went in, and he couldn't have been nicer. And he said, "Tim, you didn't do anything wrong. I want to let you know this is not your fault. It's ours. You just, when we got you on film, you're way taller. You make T look really small, and you just look like you're a kid.
Oh.
You look so young that you don't look like you're old enough to be a Vietnam vet. And we made the mistake. You've done nothing. You did a great job." But you don't want it didn't matter. I just still.
It was a crusher.
I was crushed.
Yeah.
But again, and I've said this before, and I'll say it again. It was absolutely the right call. I mean, Dirk did. He was perfect. He helped make that show a success.
Summertime.
And if I was in it, I don't know if it would have been as big a success.
Sure.
He was perfect for it. He did a great job. Things work out like they're supposed to. So, do I regret it to this day? Not really. Not anymore. I mean, did it hurt? Oh, hell yeah.
But you at least got that experience.
You know what? Right? I beat out thousands. Again, I can say there's many roles, I beat out not just 10 or 15, I beat out thousands of people.
Right.
Well, that's pretty, I'll
that's
take
something
that. I can live with that.
You can live with that on your sleeve, that little
not
stripe.
Bad,
yeah.
I did at my time, at that point in history, again, I was lucky. Let me also say that remember in the 80s, it was all about big leading men, guys like me, a Magnum PI, and you look at all the shows. They were action, and I could do stunts. I was a physical actor. I trained in sword and fighting, and I was experienced. I had the training, so I could do. Yeah, and Davey Crockett, we want you to burst through a door that's on fire. Sure, I can do it. I did it.
Right.
Fall Guy, we need you to get in and wrestle a 7-foot alligator. Okay, I'll do it. I don't know what the hell I was thinking there. That was nuts.
Yeah, that's a little nuts.
We want you to aggressively charge a 1,700-pound Kodiak Bear. Yeah, Sure. No
Why not?
problem.
Yeah. Just sign the check. That's fine. Yeah.
Here, we're going to put this timber wolf on top of you. Here, go work with this ape that could kill you in a matter of seconds.
Right.
Again, that was the job,
Right.
But I was trained, and I was, again, the right type of guy at that moment. That all has a lot to do with it. Luck plays a part, but I think sometimes, that old adage is very true. You make your own luck,
Sure,
by being
sure.
prepared.
Sure.
Be prepared and take it seriously.
And willing.
And
also. Yeah.
Just, again, you get jobs too by, like Cary Grant said, I act for free. I get paid for waiting. Show up on time, know your lines, don't trip over the furniture. That's
Right.
pretty much it.
All right. Yeah.
So I loved my career. I loved my career after acting. And right now I love that I have the opportunity to sit here with you guys in my hometown and talk about all my memories and to meet great fans. At my age now, I thank God every day that I got to do what I got to do, and I hope that anybody young who's thinking of a career, I hope you heard something today that might help you along.
Sure.
If not, find me. I'll help you if I can.
Or we'll smack you around. Yeah.
That's good.
Last thing. You recently have been doing some convention appearance, store appearances, stuff like this.
Yeah.
What is the craziest thing somebody's asked you to sign?
Well, I'll probably go with a boob.
All right, I was waiting for it. That's it. That's all I needed.
I'll go with a boob. And the other thing is, another blessing I've got is from doing these conventions. I can't really talk too much about it, but it looks like I might be doing a character voice in a new cartoon too.
Fantastic.
So I'm really excited about that because that's something I've always wanted to do. I did a little voiceover work in my life, but not much. But I really like it.
Yeah.
And what I like the most is I can do it sitting on my ass at home. But that's an area that I've never. And I've done theater. I've done television. Now voiceover work. I'm excited about it,
Yeah,
and I hope that when it comes out, I'll try to announce it. But I got to sign a boob too. So
fantastic.
Yeah.
Tim, thank you so much
Hey, guys,
for
thanks.
today, coming in, sitting with us tonight.
Thanks for
We
listening.
wish you the best.
Thanks,
and we
guys.
hope to see some updates soon.
Yeah, we'll keep in touch, and I'll let you know what's going on. And next time in town, I'll come in and bother you.
All right, thank you
All right,
guys.
Thank you.
Thank
Thank you,
you.
everyone.